Property marking for us is a really, really important tool, because a lot of the buildings that we go to and the farms that we'll go to, if property gets stolen from farm buildings, sometimes the offence times can be quite lengthy. When we do locate stolen property, having an identifiable mark on it so we can prove where it's come from, it is brilliant. Certainly for us, when we have different types of stolen property and different types of rural crime, if it's quite generic, the chances of us being able to hand it back to its rightful owner gets smaller and smaller. So certainly we would always recommend property marking. Every farm that I go to, if there's property that I've seen, I always try and recommend that you mark it primarily with your postcode, or for more agricultural machinery quad bikes, for example, you can look at the CESAR property marking, which is a unique system as well to identify stolen property.
DATATAG are the UK's leading security marking and registration company, and we are the power behind the official CESAR scheme, which is the industry scheme for security marking plant and agricultural machinery. Essentially, DATATAG create technologies that will security mark and give a unique identification to assets, and these identifications are held on a secure database that's accessible to police forces worldwide 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The CESAR scheme was launched by the Construction Equipment Association in partnership with the Agricultural Engineers Association back in 2007. It was a response to the increasing problem of machinery and plant theft, and when the Olympics were going to be held in London, we recognised, or the industry recognised, that the South London or East London was going to be the biggest building site in Europe, and so the CESAR scheme was introduced. It's a wholly owned initiative by the industry, and it sees many of the major manufacturers of plant and machinery installing CESAR as standard, either on production line or with a dealer, and being registered to the owner of a machine. This means that any police officer with nothing more than a Mark 1 eyeball and a telephone can identify a machine at a farm, roadside, 7 days a week, no matter what time, contact the keeper of the machine, prove it's stolen, and effectively make plant and agricultural machinery too hot to handle. When you invest in a CESAR marking system for your piece of machinery, you're buying a multi-layered security identification system. So CESAR scheme works on a number of levels. The first and most obvious one is the CESAR plate. That's a primary identifier. It's a tamper evident warning label with a visible number on it. So a police officer who wants to identify this vehicle can simply read that number, telephone the 24-hour day, 7-day a week call centre, and be given all the asset details of this tractor. The plate itself, as I mentioned, is tamper evident. If you try and remove it, it will break up, and there's a number of these on the machine. Behind one of these plates is a radio frequency identity tag to prove its provenance, to prove it's a genuine plate. And the police officer again can read and get an identification from that RFID tag with this scanner. Simply pass the tag over it, and it comes up with a chip number that the officer can phone in. There are also 2 tiny grain of rice sized microchips just like this hidden in the cab, probably one in the engine area and another one in the cab, and the police officer with this scanner can read those chips and phone in that identification. So they're the easy parts of it, but probably one of the most sexy parts, the real sort of 007 James Bond bit, are the microdots. Around this machine are 1,000 data dots containing a chemical DNA solution with an ultraviolet trace. So even just a tiny speck of the glue can be analysed using the chemical DNA to track down the identity of the machine. And each one of the microdots, and as I mentioned before, there's 1,000 of them over this machine in the cab and in the engine compartment. Each one of those has got a unique number on. So from a thief's point of view, you need to find and remove 1,000 microdots. A police officer, an investigator, needs to find one. It's a numbers game, and the numbers are on the side of the law. All of the major insurers recognise that an asset protected with the CESAR scheme is 4 times less likely to be stolen than one that isn't, and they reward people who invest in the CESAR scheme by giving them a discount. NFU Mutual, which probably has 70 or 80% of the farming community as customers, gives 12.5% discount on a tractor like this that's protected with the CESAR scheme. Manufacturers are really supportive of the CESAR scheme, and specifically because it helps them sell more new product. There used to be a feeling that every vehicle, every asset stolen was another opportunity to sell a new one. And whilst that's true to an extent, it overlooks the fact that when somebody steals something, what are they going to do with it? They're going to turn it into cash by putting it back into the market, selling a stolen machine as a used product. An innocent purchaser buying that instead of buying one from a dealer. So actually theft damages the business model. Theft takes sales away and damages confidence in a brand. There's no point having the most desirable brand if it's also the most stolen brand. So from a manufacturer's point of view, if you can build security into your product, add value to it, reduce the insurance costs of that product, you will sell more of it. So for the manufacturers, it's been a win-win, and that has a knock-on effect because in the farming community, you reduce the chance of your assets being stolen.